Okay. First thing, I mean, I don't necessarily want this to be my whole screen, but I want to show you this. So about, I don't know, 3.5, 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, something like that, Instagram rolled out something called Instagram Plus. You guys, if you're on Instagram, you may have gotten a notification or an option to upgrade to that. So it's a 3.99 per month. So even if you already pay for like the Meta verified, right, which is I think like 23 or $24 per month to have that little check mark verified badge next to you, this would be in addition to that. And so I tried it, right? I was like, hey, what's this going to do? Is this going to benefit me or anyone in any way? What does this look like? I will say skip it. It is kind of lame if I'm being honest. I did it and I'm not renewing after this month. So really I mean, it really is a money grab. There's not super cool functions that you, at this time, right? Like, I'm sure they'll continue to build it out, but at this time, there are two additional fonts that you can use in your stories. When you're looking at someone else's stories and responding to them, you can like super love or like something. So you can like hold down the heart and it will like super respond. Um, you can highlight one story. So like have like a highlight as a story once per week. That's limited to once per week. And then the other thing that they kind of sold was, well, when you're looking at your statistics, you're looking at your story and you see who viewed it, you're actually able to see who viewed it more than once. I'm not sure how beneficial that really is, but that's kind of the functionality as it stands right now. I did some research into whether or not paying this $3.99 per month for Instagram Plus actually increases the likelihood that your account will be discovered. Does it help your search results or your algorithm in terms of when people are looking for something? And they said there's nothing published that supports that it helps in any capacity at this time. So my recommendation for what it's worth at this time is to not spend the money on it. Maybe if they continue to build it out and add cooler things. But for right now, I didn't see any real benefit to paying that money. So either way, if you guys have had a different experience and you've tried it, please let me know. But for now, that's kind of it's not, I wanted more. I'm like, if I'm paying $4, I wanted more. And at the end of it, it just wasn't there. So, either way, that's kind of my feedback on it. Um, Next thing, I wanted to talk through because I think that this is super beneficial for people. We know that obviously referrals, most people that I know run referral-based businesses, and so that's going to be the number one source of business for you. But when you're talking about where you appear and how to appear there, what does it look like to try and become one of the people who populates in search results outside of Google? And so we're talking about all the different places where people are searching for things like ChatGPT or an AI, any other AI agent, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Reddit. I actually had a conversation with an agent 2 weeks ago, and she's like, "Oh, I'm on TikTok. My profile is public." And I was talking about, life in Detroit, and I actually got a message through TikTok of someone who was thinking about moving to the area that I covered. It turned into a buyer, and actually she closed a deal, which is pretty great. I haven't heard a lot of that in terms of actual leads coming to fruition through a TikTok channel. So I thought it was a pretty awesome thing. And what she covered to get that lead was it was kind of like the day in the life of living. She lives out just outside of Detroit. And so she was covering what a day in the life looks like. She had stopped by a coffee shop, a bookstore, dropped her kid at school, gone to yoga, like all of these different things, it's kind of a glimpse into what life looks like. And then ended the day doing some showings in the neighborhood. So either way, how can your business show up wherever people are looking for answers? So, talking about outside of Google, other places. So, for ChatGPT and other agents, I think we've been talking about this for months now, where it's um, how do I populate when someone asks a question to ChatGPT that they're looking for a realtor in Muskegon or Leadington or Grand Rapids, right? And we know, I mean, it's such a saturated space because I can say from like the Grand Rapids portion of it in GRAR, which is the local association here, there's 3,700 realtors just in GRAR. Okay, it's so saturated in this market. So if you have 3,700 realtors competing for the same, I mean, there's less listings on the market in the Grand Rapids area than there are realtors, right? And I think it's like 1,000, a little over 1,000 listings compared to 3,700 realtors. So that's how skewed it is in terms of realtors versus even listings that are available. So when you're talking about having such a saturated market, what's the best way to become discovered? Okay, so, and this is, of course, taking us, like I mentioned, outside of just referrals. Obviously, referrals are number one. Those are always king. Those are always going to be the number one. But we're looking at other avenues. So, as long as you're taking really good care of your people, your clients, your family, your friends, all those people to encourage referrals, what does it look like outside of that? So, these are the outside efforts. Um, so really, there's no real way. I will say too, ChatGPT launched, I want to say about a month ago, paid ads. Okay, so I did some digging into that too. So like you can, Google is a pay to play space. So if you pay to build up SEO on your website, if you pay to have Google ads, then when someone types in Kalamazoo Realtor, depending on how much you pay, you can populate as one of the couple at the top, right? So there's always a couple at the top that'll populate, and it really is a pay to play space. So ChatGPT originally was not. It started off as just an AI agent, but we knew that, and because it's free, unless you upgrade to premium, ChatGPT is free. We knew that there wasn't going to stay free forever, right? So we knew that they were going to try and capture advertising through ChatGPT as well, because they are a business and they want to continue making money, and it makes sense, and that's what they do. So there are ads that you can now take out in ChatGPT. And so I did dig into those quite a bit just to see the benefits, if it would be a beneficial place for a realtor to advertise. Um, there, I will say, and maybe I can actually, I want to try and pull up an image so you can see where the ad appears. I don't know, has anyone, just real quick, has anyone tried ChatGPT ads for themselves yet? If you have, no, no. Okay. Um, they are new. But I wanted to give you to show you because we were actually considering that from them for 5 star. Where do ChatGPT ads appear? And I would like to show you where they appear. We were actually considering them for 5 star because we're like, oh, well, what if a realtor goes to ChatGPT and says, what brokerage should I join in Michigan? Right? Or I just passed the exam, who should I talk to to join a brokerage? I live in Muskegon, whatever it is. So we're like, what does it look like to take out ads in ChatGPT in the same way that a realtor could do it for a certain area? Right now, and again, they will continue to improve these ads because they're so new. But right now, the ads, the benefit of these ads is that it is not a saturated space yet. Where Google is like many realtors are already paying for that to be a part of that space, to pay ads there. So it's much more competitive, and you have to spend significant amount of money to get good placement in Google Ads because it's been around for years and a lot of people are doing it. So the benefit to the ChatGPT ad is that not everyone's doing it yet. It will get there, I'm sure, just like anything else will, but it's not there yet. And so the downside was, and let me try to pull this up so you can see where the ad appears. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this up real quick so that you can see where the ad is. And this is going to show you on a phone as opposed to what it would look like on your web browser. But I just want to show you where the ads appear if you haven't already seen them. So if you take a look at this phone screen here and you look down at this, so here's the results, and then you see this sponsored post that kind of appears at the bottom. So this sponsored post and this little ad is what ChatGPT ads look like right now. So this Pueblo and Pine sponsored, and then we've got this little Desert Cottages, which is a link you can click. So this is what ads look like now. So they actually will appear beneath whatever you prompted the question to be. They will appear beneath the text that the AI agent responds with. So they will come beneath that. And so It is very limited in terms of how many characters you can have in your ad. You aren't going to have an opportunity to do like good, big, creative images. It's going to be a thumbnail and maybe your logo or something that's going to appear in that little icon on the left. And then the other downside to it at this time is there really isn't a good way to customize, like tailor the audience really, really down so that only people in a certain area see it. So the benefit is still that Google Ads, while it's much more saturated and much more expensive because you need to pay a lot of money to be one of the top results that appears, at least you're able to say, I only want to appear when this is searched or in this particular area. And ChatGPT really doesn't give you the option to tailor it down to a specific audience in that fashion yet. I'm sure they're going to, but it's not there yet. So again, benefits being more cost effective, not as busy of a space in terms of realtors trying to compete for it. But the downsides are that you can't have many characters. The images are very small in terms of like the link and a thumbnail, and that the audience customization is not as significant as it is in other resources. So I just wanted to share that with you because it's something that we looked into, and so then you can decide whether or not it's worth it. We're actually trying it. So we're going to try it for the next 30 to 60 days just to see if any leads come from it at all and if it's worth the time. I'm more of a like, let's try it and see how it goes before we decide that it's not worth the effort. So we're going to try it. And then at our next marketing think tank, I'll be able to share and see if it was beneficial in any way. But either way, you can decide whether or not that's right for your business. All right, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen here real quick. Okay. So, in other ways, aside from, paying for ChatGPT ads, really the only way that you'd be able to populate as one of the search results is that if you have content somewhere, and I think we all know this at this point, you have to have content somewhere, whether it's on your website, a blog, ideally those are the two places that you have, but really it's, hold on, let me pop somebody in here. Really it's answering questions, becoming a local expert. I mean, SEO definitely matters. SEO optimizing your website, all of those things matter. And if you don't have those things and you don't have them optimized and you don't have good copy written, you're probably not going to be one of the ones that's recommended in ChatGPT. Now, I've suggested previously if you ask it, if you go to ChatGPT and you say, I want to sell my home in Leadington, who do you recommend I reach out to as a realtor? And they give you some recommendations and you're not one of those recommendations, then respond to the AI agent and say, actually, I've heard this person works in this area and has 10 years experience, like as yourself, right? This person works in this area, has 10 years experience, has sold X number of homes and would be a great resource. ChatGPT, at least, and other AI agents will then recalibrate. They will say, actually, you're right. That person does serve this area and does have this much experience and would be a wonderful person to reach out to. At least putting your name on the map and getting that fed into the information that they're scanning is important. So if you haven't done that already, I would suggest you do it. Okay. Um, while we're talking about AI agent right now, Google is still very important. But really, I feel like there's no benefit at this point to trying to build out SEO for really generic terms like Grand Rapids Realtor or West Michigan Realtor. It's just too saturated. Everyone is doing it. There are way too many realtors doing the exact same thing. So how do you build content around that? And the way that they do that is to have the answers to the common questions that people are asking. And I've covered this before, but I want to reiterate this because really this is what the content needs to be built around. And this is included in social media as well as any websites that you have. Okay. And really you can use an AI agent and say, what are the most common questions that are being asked in real estate in West Michigan right now, or in Grand Rapids right now, or whatever it is. But some of the ones are cost of living in Grand Rapids, Careful with the term best neighborhoods because we need to be, but covering neighborhoods in the area, living in Forest Hills, school districts, rankings or where to find resources on school districts. This is a big one. And now they're starting to tailor, as I've used ChatGPT to come up with some of these ideas, now they're starting to tailor them to me because I do live in Forest Hills. I did move to Michigan from Chicago. So now they're giving me like, okay, Mary, what would you want to know? It's kind of gross how it learns you. But either way, and I did buying a home with a septic system. That is also something I did. So now it's just like pulling my full history here. But either way, so answering questions that people commonly ask questions that people are wondering. And I will say Michigan is a place that a lot of people move to from out of state. It is a place that people come to or come back to after living somewhere else. So there are a lot of these opportunities to show what life is like in these areas. And I just think, based on what it's saying, is building out your content, social media wise, as well as what appears on your website, with answering these questions can be very beneficial as opposed to trying to compete for having the term Grand Rapids Realtor appear on your website 17 times. Okay. Because, and you know what I mean? Everyone can do that, but creating, proprietary content for yourself is going to be much more beneficial at this point. Next one is Reddit. Reddit is interesting. Reddit, I used to think it was just like a dumping ground for people to just like post anonymously and like leave trolly comments, but really Reddit has become and is over the last several years actually a pretty good resource for a lot of people. Reddit is extremely popular. So if you're not already on Reddit, I do think it's a good place where you can start conversations with people. There's a couple things to watch out for. I went on to Reddit to do some of my own research, and I was like, there are main channels that are dedicated to moving to new areas. There are main channels talking about moving to Michigan. There are main channels talking about life in Muskegon. There are main channels. I mean, there are these conversations happening all the time. So you can become a helpful resource within Reddit. Okay. You can respond to comments. You can talk about being, living in the area. You can talk about being a local professional. You can chime in on these things, and kind of incorporate yourself into these Reddit channels that are already existing, which is great. Here's what you can't do. They do not allow you to just like self promote, right? So you can't just like post on yourself and say, I'm a realtor in the Grand Rapids area and you should contact me for X, Y. You can't do it. Okay. So you can't do that type of blatant self promotion on your own post. The other thing you have to be careful about is anytime you see someone on Reddit who said, I'm thinking about selling my home. I actually know a person, a Grand Rapids realtor, who picked up a lead from Reddit because someone posted and said, I'm thinking about moving in Grand Rapids. Who should I talk to? And then other people on Reddit, okay, so fans of this agent, responded to this comment and said, you should talk to this person. And then that person was reached out to by this Reddit poster and she got a deal and had a buyer from it. So I know it happens. So being one of those people who can respond to these, you can do this easily by setting alerts for certain topics. So you don't need to be on Reddit searching things all day, every day, but you can set an alert that says, okay, when someone posts with these words, or when someone posts in this channel with this topic, you can be alerted that there's a new conversation centered around that so that you can just be like, oh, okay, I'll pop in and make a comment, as opposed to like scrolling through Reddit to search for these things. You can make it easier for yourself. But back to what you can't do. There is a Reddit feature where you can directly message someone. Okay, so you can chat directly with someone on Reddit. The danger you run is if you try to promote business that way. So, say for example, someone posted that they're looking for a realtor in the Grandville area or whatever it is, or they're thinking about making a move. And as a realtor, you go and you send them a direct message and you say, hey, saw your post, one, whatever. People don't like it and people aren't going to respond to it. Okay. So you can get flagged. And if you get flagged, Reddit can suspend you. So they're really, really vigilant about flagging this type of behavior because they don't want it to be used in this capacity. So you just have to be careful. The other part of it is with Reddit, if you're actually going to use it for business promotion, then don't make yourself anonymous. Don't give yourself some crazy name on Reddit and make your contact details public. A lot of people on
On
Reddit
Reddit.
create like a anonymous name or like a very like they give no personal details, they give no, there's no photo, there's no whatever, and they do that intentionally so that they can be someone who's having these conversations and asking these questions anonymously, right? So but if you're using it for low-key business promotion, then obviously don't make yourself anonymous, I guess is where I'm going with that. Instagram, if you're not already, and I don't want to spend too much time on this because I feel like a lot of people are pretty comfortable with Instagram already. I would just say I it makes a lot of sense for realtors to be partnering with other people to get in front of their audiences. I see people doing it with lenders, but you can also do it with many other businesses, many other small businesses, and then collaborate on these posts to each get in front of each other's audiences. So I would say, coffee shops, that this one has like fitness instructors, or if you go someplace to train, you go to a Pilates class at a certain place or a yoga class at a certain place, or your kids play for a certain rec league or whatever it is. Always like caption and tags and location matter so much in terms of how you're going to populate when people search for things. And Instagram has become a low-key Google, right? So people do search for neighborhoods, they search for Grand Rapids, they search for Muskegon, they do search these things on Instagram, and it's really just a way for them to view what's happening in the area, what life is like living there. And so making sure that when you're posting with your location in the area, you're tagging appropriately, and then you're using captions that can capture again those people who are searching. So I just wanted to put this here. I know Instagram is a well-known source, but I just wanted to put that there. TikTok, we already kind of talked about this a little bit, but it's just so interesting. I had that conversation. The agent is actually not at Five Star, but I was talking to her and I thought it was so interesting that I mean, I'm sure realtors capture leads from TikTok and I just don't know it happens as often as it does. But for this one, I loved the idea that somebody was viewing TikTok. Now, TikTok audience does tend to skew a little younger. But a majority of the audience is a little younger, but that doesn't mean it's not a worthwhile platform for you to be on. And so again, showing neighborhoods around the area, the benefit of living in Michigan, things to know before moving. But everything I'm talking about, whether it's Instagram or your blogs or TikTok or whatever it is, everything I'm talking about is answering the common questions that are asked about the area. That's like, I feel like if you don't already have that mindset, like, yes, it's good to throw other things in there too. What did your day look like? What are you doing today? Did you help these clients? Did you do this? Are you running a food drive? Do you have a parade coming up? Whatever it is, all of that stuff is good too. But when you're thinking about a mindset of like, okay, what should I be posting or what should I post today or over the next week or whatever it is, when you're planning that out, the mindset should be what questions should I be answering to draw people to my account or draw people to me? Um, Questions about the area, questions about moving, questions about real estate. Like, and you don't have to start, that doesn't mean you start the post asking the question and then answering it. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm not suggesting you start a video that says, what does it look like to live in Michigan? Right? That's not what I mean. What I mean is you're giving people information on the questions that are most common, and you don't have to do that in a way where you're asking the question and then giving the answer. Just provide the answer, provide the information. But keep that in mind when you're creating your content. Um, I will say there are if you're not already on Facebook, there are most neighborhoods or areas have local community groups. So there's probably a North Muskegon group or there's a neighborhood group, even more hyper local than just like a general area. So like yes, there are Grand Rapids community groups on Facebook, but there's also ones for specific neighborhoods. For example, like I'm in the Forest Hills one because there's a Forest Hills neighborhood one. And so being a voice in these can be beneficial too, because people tend to come to these for recommendations. And not all community groups are great. I will say some people like allow anonymous posts. Okay, then you're never going to be able to capture, really probably not going to be able to capture a lead from that. Or they allow tons and tons of business promotion, meaning that anyone can post about their business all the time and it's just a lot of noise. But there are some community groups that you request to be a part of, and there are some qualifications to be able to join. Like, do you live in the area? X, Y, and Z, or does your kid go to the school? Whatever the group is about. And being a part of that and being a voice in there of resources can be really beneficial because people do go in there and ask for, hey, I'm thinking about selling my home. Who have you worked with? Or we're thinking about moving to, I see a lot of, we're thinking about moving to the area. What has been your experience with this daycare? Okay, so if someone's thinking about moving to an area, how do you tap into that to start a conversation with them? Because they may not already have a realtor. They're thinking about moving to an area, so how do you start that conversation? Um, Contractor recommendations, whatever it is, but these groups can be very helpful and it's also free, right? So TikTok, Instagram, like all Reddit, all of these things we're talking about are free ways to be starting conversations. So I just want to say like local community groups, although also can be slightly a headache depending on what's going on in there, can be really beneficial. Email marketing, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I want to encourage people, if you're not already doing some sort of consistent email that you do, as five-star agents, you have access, or you're given your home base account. There is an email newsletter that can go out once per month, every month for you. All you have to do is go into home base, make sure your contacts are added in, and then turn it on, toggle it on. So if you don't already have an email newsletter going and you want to take advantage of the 1 5-star offers, please do. It's going to have market stats that you can set areas for your people, and those types of things. But again, I think email marketing is really important. It's such an interesting balance because we go through waves of like, oh my God, I'm getting so many emails. I'm not paying attention anymore, emails. And then, oh my God, social media is such a mess. I'm taking a break from social media because it's so overwhelming. And so it's like, there's this back and forth between what's best. Is it utilizing social media or is it utilizing email marketing? And at least from the stats that I've seen and the stuff that I've looked up over the last few days, they're calling it the return of email marketing. I don't know how long it's going to last, but my encouragement is that if you don't have something going, start it. So that's my 2 cents. Um, yeah. So here I'm just talking about something that 5-star has preached from the very beginning of, the brokerage when it was formed in 1996. And that is that your brand and who you are matters more than the brokerage you're affiliated with. And that's just something that we stand on because people are going to want to work with you and they don't really care what brokerage you're with. So personal branding over company branding has always been our philosophy. But what I like about this slide in particular is I appreciate when people show failure. And it's not always an easy thing to show. It's not always, but it's humanizing and it makes you feel like you're vulnerable and you don't have it all together and you're not perfect. And that makes me relate more to you than someone who is always perfect, always closing the deal, always doing this. I like someone who makes themselves vulnerable, which is not always the easiest thing to do. But I think that what showing failures and what you learn from those can be just, I don't know. There's just so much quote perfection on the internet. Perfectly filtered photos, perfectly edited videos, perfectly, airbrushed headshots. There's so much of it. And that's why there's the whole AI versus, humanization, and why people are like turned off from AI because they want to feel like they're interacting with someone who's human. And sharing lessons and failures is a way to do that. I will say it's really interesting because there's a realtor at 5-star and she created this AI video. I've seen a lot of people capitalizing on, oh, hold on, I'm getting some feedback here. Let me see who I need to mute 1 second. Okay. I'm seeing a lot of people capitalize, but and to no fault, they're trying to capitalize on whatever's trending, which I get. If you remember, those two people scaled, was it the Eiffel Tower? No, not the Eiffel Tower. The Empire State Building? Didn't they scale the Empire State Building? And then they had the flag and he like proposed to her. And really it was supposed to be a message of like love, right? But then a lot of realtors took that and then added their verbiage to the flag. And so I mean, AI can do that very easily for you. And so that became a trending item. So there's this agent who I'm friends with, and I reached out to her because she posted this reel and it was her jumping out of an airplane. It was her bungee jumping, okay? And it was honestly, I can't even remember the caption. I don't even remember at this point what the caption was, but it was her AI, like AI had put her face on this person and they had their pack on and they parachute and they jumped out of an airplane. This thing she created on AI got like 2 million views. 2 million views for this. And so I talked to her and I was like, yeah, I'm trying to understand why something like this took off in the way that it did. Because, and this is no shade to anyone, but my partner showed it to me and goes, "Did you see this?" And he had no idea that this realtor was with Five Star at all. And he sent it to me and he goes, "Have you seen this?" And I was like, "No, I haven't seen it." So I look at it and I'm like, "Oh my God, I know her." And so I send her a message and I'm like, "Why did this particular thing take off in the way that it did? And also, did it lead to conversations in business?" Because that's the biggest piece of it, honestly. If you're going to be doing social media to try to build business, I asked her, I'm like, how many new followers or friend requests did you get? Or new followers because she's public. So how many new followers did you get? Did anyone actually reach out to you? And so at the bottom line, this thing has continued to grow, and I don't know if you've seen it. It may show up in your feed now that I've told you about it because that's how creepy algorithms are. But she said, yes, it started conversations for people who knew who she was. So it was like a conversation starter with people who recognized her face. No, it has not directly led to any business yet. And yes, she did gain followers. But really, I think the bottom line is the reason that this trended in the way that it did was because someone else had done it and it had gotten a lot of exposure. And so she then took it and made her a version of it with her own face because it was already trending. And so she capitalized on that trend and then it became big for her and her audience. Which is something that AI can do for you, right? AI can take someone else's idea, which they do a lot of, right? They take someone else's idea and then they can plop your face onto it. And then you can use that for social media. Um, and so that's totally up to you. If that's the route you want to go and you want to, capitalize on these trending moments, these trending pieces that other agents are doing, that's fine too. My encouragement would be to not only do that, because I do think that if you have too much AI generated content in your social media, it can be a turnoff to a lot of people. So if you're going to do some of that, just make sure that it's not mostly that there's also the imperfect side of it that shows you actually being a person and not just these AI generated pieces. That's all. That's my little story. But I'm continuing to follow her, and I had coffee with her a couple weeks ago, and I just was like, I honestly think it was just luck. Like I think it was a luck. It was a luck of the draw. It was the right time. It was the right thing. It was the right whatever. Um, okay, next thing here. Attention is the real currency. You literally have 3 seconds. Oh, I have a little typo here. You literally have 3 seconds to capture someone's attention. Make sure you have a clear call to action and try not to overload people with so much information that they lose interest. That's always been the case. But if you've noticed, just I've noticed over the last several years, I didn't think our attention span could get any shorter in terms of who we are. And now I feel like it's even 3 seconds, I think is a stretch. I think if you're scrolling through social media, I think you're getting one. I think you're getting 1 second and then you're like moving on. And of course, that didn't used to be the case prior to social media, but now this is where we are. So, the quicker you can get someone's attention, the better because you're really working with very, very limited attention spans. And that's just what screens have done to us. And that's just where we are. And then yeah, avoiding an information overload. You can give people nuggets, right? You can give people nuggets of information and then they can contact you to have a further discussion instead of trying to pack it all into one post about what you're doing. Um, I'm gonna skip that one for now. This one's interesting. I don't know if you guys have heard this term. It's kind of floating around edutainment, combining education with entertainment and what's being posted on social. So it's a smart idea. I like the fact that in this instance, you're positioning yourself as a resource, which is something that we've always promoted you do in real estate. It's like even if someone's not looking to make a move right now, you can position yourself as a resource, as the person they go to with questions. And so just showing that you're knowledgeable about your industry is a very smart thing to do. So tips, interactive quizzes, get people engaging on social. I know people will do like the comment below, but I never really see tons of engagement with that. I see one or two, but I don't see a lot. So I really like the myth versus fact one. I love the idea of trying to dispel some common myths that people don't know. And I don't know exactly what those are. I think I'm going to come up with a list because there are a lot of them. But I think that those could be interesting because I don't see a ton of that already. Okay. Here's something that I love, and maybe you guys already do this, but I just wanted to put this out there. This is my absolute favorite thing. So I'm calling it marketing through generosity. Sometimes people wait for a reason to be generous to other people. But maybe some of you already do, but like just go ahead and being generous to these people without expecting business first, I think can make a big difference. And so when we're talking about providing community resources, okay, for example, so in the Forest Hills group, Forest Hills district group that I'm in on Facebook, they were very disorganized. Okay. So this group, the admin of the group, like he there, it's a tighter group. Like you can't post anonymously, you can't business promote, you can't do these things. Okay. So, but it was really disorganized, and a lot of people, which, some of the frustrations with Five Star Connect is people ask the same questions over and over again. Right. So it's like, oh, who do you know for a contractor in Grand Rapids? Okay. Well, if someone actually took the time, clicked the magnifying glass, typed in contractor, they could look, this same post has been asked many, many times. Okay. And that's what was happening in this group. It was just it was very redundant. And so I reached out to the admin, a guy who's actually a really nice guy. And I was like, hey, what if we opened up a question here within this group and said, if you have a local business in this group, we are creating a Forest Hills small business directory website. You can comment below, and then you will get added to this website, and then everyone will have a resource. This group will have a resource to reference going forward. So that anytime somebody needs a painter, a drywaller, an electrician, a pet sitter, whatever it is, they have a list of resources for this area. Like super local, locally owned and operated businesses. And so he's like, actually, I've been trying to figure out a way to allow people to have their businesses listed without just letting everyone post all the time. So we opened it up and I asked the question, and I got 80 plus people, maybe more. Some people sent me a direct message, some people commented on it, but they're like, I'd love to have my business featured. And then I took it, and in GoDaddy, which was very inexpensive, we just purchased foresthillssmallbusinessdirectory.com and created a very simple website. And now that website is pinned to the top of this Forest Hills group. And so I guess from what I'm showing is like it was a generosity first thing, right? So it was, we're gonna offer this, we're gonna build this website to help other people, and we're not directly asking for business, we're just doing it to be generous and to help with this group's organization and to hopefully whatever. Now, the amount of conversations you can start because these businesses reach out to you and say, hey, I'd love to be featured, that's an opportunity to start a conversation, right? Or to make a new connection, or to have a new vendor, or to share referrals, whatever it is. So there's definitely conversations that can stem from this, but it started from a place of generosity and just genuinely wanting this group to be more organized and easier to navigate. And so that's what I mean when I say like community resources, local recommendations, those types of things, whatever that looks like. Some people are like, contact me for a free value analysis. Well, you're asking for them to do something first before you give them anything, right? Not everyone wants that type of interaction. So, how about the generosity comes first? And then after you make the connection, that's when you ask for the business, right? So that's what I'm saying, marketing through generosity. And maybe it should be called like generosity first. But either way, that's kind of what I was thinking with that. Okay, those are all of the things I have for today. Is there anybody that would like to ask a question or talk about anything else? No? Thanks, Jim. I appreciate the heart. Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye.